Hi all. Originally this video was going to be Cassandra, a quick start. But now that I've been spending, who knows, 8 hours or more trying to get install Cassandra on Cloud 9 and failing, it's no longer this quick start method. Right up front, I'll say if you can get it working on Cloud 9 and solve this problem and even do a little video, I will give you XP just so other people can use what you've learned. So let's say 25 XP, unless it's really, really tricky, maybe more, but I'll put out a challenge. What I did try to do was I followed these steps, which have worked for me in the past, and I can't get it working. So what happens is when I try to start the service, I bump out of memory eventually. It looks like it starts. I can do status here. Well, that's failing, but eventually it'll peak memory-wise up here, maybe. I couldn't get a PID. There we go. I'm zooming out of memory. I hit this memory limit, and my service starts. I've tried editing this file. Let me get that. This etc. init Cassandra file. I've changed the U limit on it. I've changed some memory requirements. I've changed how many files you can have open to reduce that with hopes of reducing the amount of memory it needs. And I still can't keep it up and running. So if you can get it running, that's great. That would really help a lot. I've also had this problem last year, and it's why the class switched to a different web-based IDE rather than Cloud 9. And for that, we went to coding. And that was very easy to set up. There was one command. It was kpm space Cassandra. That would install, or I think it was kpm install Cassandra. That installed Cassandra. Everything worked perfectly with one line. Now coding changed their model. Before it was just like Cloud 9 where they would give you a virtual machine. Now they don't do that anymore. It's just kind of a front end for DigitalOcean or Amazon EC2 instances. So you have to pay for that service, and then they put a layer above it. So that no longer works. There's this legacy way when you're a solo developer, but when I tried logging in and doing that, that didn't work either. If you can get that working and finding out a free way, that's great. So I can show you what does work currently, and next video, hopefully, or maybe I'll just attach it to this video, a web-based way of doing it as well. So let me show you what I've done here. So DigitalOcean has this how to install Cassandra and run a single node cluster on Ubuntu 14.04. And eventually we're going to be running multi-node clusters just to see what Cassandra's like. I mean, really it's designed to be run on a number of machines in a cluster. But for now, let's just to get a little familiarity with it, the single node cluster is the way to go. And I am running a virtual machine locally, so not running on DigitalOcean, but this worked fine for me. And let me just demo that machine. So here I am in my terminal. I'm going to go into where I keep all my Vagrant boxes. I just created a new directory called Bodhi. There's nothing in it at the moment. And I'm going to go Vagrant init. And now I'm going to edit that Vagrant file to be the configuration I would like. So let me just open that in my Sublime editor here. Okay. Here's what where I say what I want installed on that virtual machine. Do I want, what version of Linux, for example, do I want? And I want Ubuntu and the version Trusty 64. Whoops, if I can spell right. And here I always turn this on because if I want to do something like Flask or some web-based thing, I would like to do some port forwarding. Here is where I want to change the amount of memory, so I'll uncomment that out and also change memory here to be 2 gig, let's say. And here is where I say I want to share folders between my Mac and this virtual machine. That makes it very handy. I can use an editor on the Mac side and don't need to use Vim, which I'm not that much of a fan of. All right, so I save that file. All right, and let me see if I can bring up that virtual machine. Yes, I missed one line there. Let me edit that. Let's see if that'll help. And this takes a bit of time. Before, when I was issuing the command vagrant up, it was just turning on an existing virtual machine. This time it's building a machine, so it takes just a tad longer. I have high hopes that this will work. I haven't tried this beforehand. I've tried other methods which have always failed. But I think increasing the amount of memory to 2 gigs might actually be the winning way of doing things. All right, and now let me SSH into that machine. It's currently running. Okay, and now I'm going to follow these instructions on DigitalOcean, so you're going to see some boring copying and pasting here. So I'm going to add the repository that has Java in it. I'm going to update my repository. I'm going to install Java here in a second. All right, and now I can do that install. It goes through an install script, displays some really old funky graphics here in a second. Okay, and I'll accept the Oracle license. Sure, why not? Okay, and now let's just check that it is that version. And it is. I got Java 1.8 installed. Sweet. All right, next step is installing Cassandra, and these are fairly lengthy commands. Let me go ahead and do that. These are the repositories. Okay, now I need to add some keys here. Just give me a second. There's 3 pairs of commands. Just be careful on these. Okay, that's good. Whoop. Paste the next part in. Sweet. Okay, let's add the second key. It's a lot of copying and pasting, I know. And the server seems to be slow at the moment. This usually goes much, much faster. Okay. And finally, the third key. This. Oops. All right. Oh, I screwed up at the key there. Let me back up and run that command again. It's a problem with my connection. It usually goes much, much faster. I don't know what the current problem is here. There we go. And let me go to up there to the export command. All right, that's fine. Now I update it, and then finally I can install Cassandra. I don't know why I'm cutting and pasting here, but let's go for it. Installing Cassandra does not seem as easy as installing Postgres, at least in my limited experience. All right, so there we go. And it should be installed, but I don't believe it. It actually seems to be running. Let's see if the Cassandra, and I'm actually in the Cassandra. Well, there's some shock in my voice that this worked so perfectly. I think the magic was increasing the memory to 2 gig. So let me stop here, and then I'll start again with some description of what we can do in Cassandra, some basic Cassandra commands. And now I'd like to show some basic Cassandra commands. So I'll attach a link to this document to the bottom of this video, to the text just below the video. It's what I've tried on Cloud9. It's how to install that link to DigitalOcean thing, and this quick tutorial, which I'll cover now. So to get into the client, it's CQLSH. And now I'm attached. It's the client connecting to the server. And I can create the equivalent of a database in Cassandra. That's called a key space. So I'll give it a name, pets. And I need, because Cassandra is meant to be used in a cluster of computers, here my cluster exactly 1 virtual machine, so not really a good illustration of Cassandra. I need to talk or specify a bit about how this database will be distributed among the machines in a cluster. So that's what I'm doing here. The class simple strategy means go clockwise around the ring of computers in the cluster and replicate in that fashion. It doesn't matter much in this case, because the next command I'll say just put it on 1 computer in the cluster. If I put 2, then it would start on the first computer, then clockwise distribute it to the next computer as we go clockwise. All commands in Cassandra and or the client end with this semicolon, just like in Postgres. And I can see that I have this one called pets. Cool. So let's use pets. So I'm in pets now, and I can go ahead and create a table. And this will look remarkably like Postgres. So I have the name of a dog, it's text. I have the breed of a dog, it's text. And I have the age of a dog, which is an int. And finally, I'll declare a primary key. And that'll be the name. And if all that worked, I can say describe table dogs, and it'll give me all this information about the table. And here's at least the beginning part that's of interest and knowledgeable to us about that it has name, which is a primary key, age, and breed. Now let me go ahead and insert some entries into my dogs table. You can see it looks identical to that of Postgres. Let me just make sure I didn't make a mistake there. Let me insert another entry. Let me go up to another standard poodle. And let me add one more here. Say 7. I don't know if I spelled that right, but let's hope I did. And let's name him Sam. I don't know. All right. And now that's the basic insertion. You can see it looks pretty much like how we normally do insertions. And select. So we can find things based on the primary key. Select splat from dogs where name equals Bodhi. And it gives me this information: Bodhi, age 4, breed standard poodle. Sorry for that bad coloring, it's not me. However, it only works with the primary key. So if I do something like let me delete this part. Breed equals standard poodle. It does not work. It says no secondary indexes on the restricted column support the provided operators. So I can create an index that will enable me to search. So this is a little bit different than SQL, where we can search on anything. We can create indices, but they're not necessary if you want to do a search. But in this case, it is. And I can say, hey, create one for breed. And now I can do that search and get Roz and Bodhi. I can update, make a change. Let's say Roz, I want to update from age 9 to 10. And now if I did that select, I get Roz to be 10. So that's really the basics. I just wanted to show you kind of the simple commands, and it sure looks like Cassandra is pretty much like SQL. The next video I'll show how to connect everything to Python, how to get things moving, and what sets apart Cassandra from Postgres or other SQL solutions. Thanks.